Is HDFC Crest useful as a ULIP? Deepak Shenoy here, bringing you Market Vision short takes on the concept. So, what is it? It's a simple ULIP with a premium of at least 50,000 rupees a year, and you pay only for 5 years, but the tenure of the fund is about 10 years, and the sum assured is between 10 and 20x. But you need to take at least 20x honestly to get the tax cover, tax benefits from next year. And you get, if you die, your family will get the greater of the sum assured or the fund value, so there's lesser insurance than you think. But before that, let's just go through the concept in an actual framework of how I actually determine whether ULIPs are interesting or not. So HDFC Life, Standard Life, for instance, as a website, I go to the website, I start taking a look at the product brochure. So that's where this is. It's a very confusing concept, so you have to look at a lot of things. This is simply in a NAV. You just have to ignore a lot of the stuff here. You say, okay, first you look at the premium and level of cover. The minimum premium you can pay is 50,000, and you pay annually. You pay for 5 years. You get a cover of 10 or 20x depending on whatever you choose. So which you can choose 11x, 12x, or something like that. Of the annual premium that you pay, 50,000 will give you a cover of between 5 lakhs and 10 lakhs. You can choose whatever you want in that range. Then you choose the investment option. So there's a highest NAV guarantee fund, which means you will get either rupees 50. In the current NAV is about 9.76. You'll get at least 15 rupees after 10 years. So if you get in at 10, you get 15 after 10 years. Is like 50% over 10 years. At simple interest, it's 5% a year, which you can do better, by any mutual fund or any insurance, any fixed deposit. There's also free asset allocation, which is like any other ULIP. You just choose the funds you want your money to go into. The highest guaranteed NAV fund, is it very useful? Honestly, getting an NAV of 15 is of absolutely no interest. The highest NAV recorded in the first 7 years, you may also get that. But the concept of this is, it's very straightforward. What they do is, as the NAV keeps increasing, they put money into safer and safer avenues. So you don't get equity return. So equity goes up 40%, you won't get 40%. What will happen is, if it goes up 10%, they will take some more money out of the equity portion and put it into the debt to meet the guarantee. So what happens is, if the equity portion goes up 40%, you might actually go up only 12-13% because of the way the return is structured. Now, the highest NAV guarantee fund also has another cost associated with it, which we'll come to at a later point. There are 5 options in the other option. So that you have free asset allocation option, in which you get 5 different funds. 2 of them are equity, 2 of them are debt focused, and 1 is a hybrid fund. So you can choose whichever your fund money, whichever fund your money should go to. Quite interestingly, there are a lot of benefits of this fund as well. There's maturity benefits. So when it matures after 10 years, you get, if you've got the guaranteed NAV plan, you get the guaranteed NAV, or you get the NAV on the date of maturity, whichever is higher. In case of death, you get the higher of, they get the greater of sum assured or total fund value. And if you surrender the policy, you don't lose much money. In fact, IRD has a policy that says that you cannot lose all your money. You can maximum lose 6%. And the only concept is, if you surrender the policy before the first 5 years, you will only get your money after 5 years. The money earns about 3.5% till then, so it's kind of kept in a fixed, savings deposit kind of rate till the end of 5 years, at which time you'll get the remaining. Now, quite interestingly, there are a lot of charges here. It's a lot lesser than ULIPs used to charge earlier. The premium allocation charge, which is a straightforward commission from your investment, is 4% in the first 2 years, 3% after that, and 2% in 4 and 5. So this is quite high, because comparatively mutual funds are 0%, so it's much nicer. Fund management charge, which is what mutual funds charge to, this is nice. 1.35 is much lesser than what mutual funds charge, which is typically 2%. Policy administration charge, which is an onerous charge of 0.3% a month, that's 3.7% a year. You pay 4% for getting in, and then you pay 3.7% a month for staying in. It's like 7 or 8%. That's just crazy. And there's a mortality charge, which is how much ever you have to pay for the death cover. Let me now look at a simple Excel sheet where I created. What I did is I went to the website and I said, okay, let's look at the HDFC SL Crest plan. I'm going to 50,000 in, take a 10 lakh cover, and then I am going to invest it for 10 years. Let's see what happens. The fund value at the end of 10 years is what they call, I pay 2.5 lakhs. We get back 3,79,000. Believe me, this is 5% returns, less than 5% returns. Although the fund supposedly has returned 10%. Right, so you've invested 2,50,000, but you've got back only 3,80,000. That's because there's so much that is charged to you right through the process. The next thing is, let's look at the fund without a guarantee. With the guarantee, what happens is there's a small guarantee charge of 0.5% every year. Without a guarantee, there's not even that charge. So you start off with 50,000 a year for the first 5 years. You end up with 3.96 lakhs versus 3.79. The death benefit through the plan is just 10 lakhs. But let's assume that you did the same thing with a mutual fund. Now you're going to assume the same 10% return. You're going to assume about 2% as the fund management charge every year. You're going to assume that from the 50,000 a month, I am going to go buy a term plan. That term plan is actually going to come from HDFC itself. Let's not change the company. 10 lakhs for 10 years. I pay 2,800 rupees a year at the age of 35, and the amount remaining after that is 47,195. I put that into the fund. I pay all these services, I remove all the other costs. These are the extra costs that I will pay over the 10 years, and at the end of 10 years, at the same 10% return, you get 4.47 lakhs. This is 10% higher, at least about 10-12% higher than the equivalent HDFC Crest plan. And guess what? This is even higher insurance, because in case something happens to your family, will get both the term plan cover and the fund value at the end of the year. So it starts off with 10 lakhs and goes all the way to 14.47 lakhs. So it's better in terms of cover as well. It's better in terms of investment as well. So I would definitely recommend just go with a mutual fund and a term plan. You will have a much better life in that respect. And the costs are quite high. As you can see, the HDFC Crest plan comes up with 4%, and this is what basically kills your returns. So your admin charge, just the allocation admin charge adds to 7.7% in the first year and 6.2 or go all the way to 6.5% in the last year. This is extremely high. Anything more than 1%, 2% is just insanely high in the investment world. So I would definitely not recommend this in any way. But more importantly, you might say that the performance will make up for it. Let's look at the performance. Their opportunities fund, which is supposed to be one of their best funds, it works for HDFC SL Crest. From September 2010, which is when I could get the NAV, I tried from 05/2005 to 05/2011 from their own website. You start off with an NAV of 12.25. It goes to 11.63. The Nifty has actually gone up 2% in the same period, but forget that. The NAV has actually fallen from 12 to 11.6, from 12.25 to 11.6. So it's actually fallen about 4 or 5%. Versus their own mutual fund. Let's look at their own mutual fund history. HDFC Equity Fund, a reasonably performing fund, large cap. That has gone from it has started at the same 1st September from 276, the growth plan. You shouldn't take the dividend plan because dividend payouts skew the output. 276 to 280. So this has gone up 2%. Their own mutual fund has gone up 2%, but their insurance NAV has fallen 5%. So on a fund that is, we assume that a mutual fund versus a ULIP, the mutual fund would do 10%, this fund would do, the insurance plan would do 10%. But turns out that the mutual fund is actually performing better than the insurance plans fund itself. So the thing is, it's just a terrible plan to have. It doesn't seem to have anything that's very exciting. High costs, not enough performance, and honestly, there's nothing really much that's exciting about the plan. But let's go back to the presentation and see if there's anything worth it. Obviously, the taxes are interesting, but you shouldn't make decisions based on taxes alone, because tomorrow tax laws will change. 10 years later, they might just decide to tax the entire money. You can't do much about it. So as I said, there's that, and there's charges are pretty high. We've got guaranteed fees charges also, and that's about it from the ULIP side. Obviously, I don't suggest this, but I hope this has taught you how you should evaluate a ULIP. And I've taken the example of HDFC Crest. Love to hear your comments. Do visit us at marketvision.in. Leave us your comments on this video and short take, or visit or leave us a question in our forums. Would love to hear from you, and thanks for listening.